Is that back-to-back weeks with no one going home? This is going to be a very interesting end to our season. You know, we're over a month in now, still have 7 contestants left. We still haven't had that nasty winter weather set in. And, you know, like we saw people making triumphs today, people making some very poor decisions, and yeah, I'm just not sure how this season is going to play out. All right, we got some big things to talk about today. Roland and the Musk Ox, Kielyn and her Raft, Amos and his gill net. Like, definitely have to address that. Mark and the bear. Interesting day for sure. Might as well kick off with Roland. We ended last week with him firing an arrow at a Musk Ox. The assumption was that he hit, since we had seen some previews where someone goes and hits or stabs a Musk Ox, and today we got to see that play out as Roland did in fact hit the Musk Ox and then tracked it down as it was bleeding out, and eventually made the decision that he had to go in with his knife to put the muskox out of his misery. I'll be honest, that is not a scene that I expected to see on a season of Alone. I do understand that they're out there hunting big game with simply a bow and arrow, not a compound bow, just a recurve. And I mean, I'm sure that bow fires an arrow quite hard, but if you're going hunting, even bow hunting, you would typically have more heavy duty gear than what Roland had to take that muskox down. And you have to give a lot of credit to him for, having the balls to take that knife and go after that muskox. Yeah, interesting thing. He secured the kill, so that's 2 seasons in a row where we've seen someone take down big game. Last season we had Jordan. This season we have Roland. Yeah, we don't know how it's gonna play out with that contributing to him winning or losing. We don't know yet, but kind of cool to see. I was pretty interested to see how Roland ended up tackling getting the meat back to his camp. He essentially did his butchering, hid the meat, and then just hoped for the best. He took only a small cache of vital organs, stuff that he felt was higher value to him than like the hindquarters or the shoulders, and left the rest out there. This was inevitably going to start bringing in some game, and we see that first snowfall and Roland walking back to his kill, and of course bear prints everywhere. So Roland does get the majority of his meat back to his camp, but we end the episode with Roland staring down another animal off in the distance, this time a black bear. And who knows how things play out. We'll have to see, but looks like Roland at least has a lot of meat. Did not look very fatty, but you could see some fat on the meat. So there's got to be a lot of staying power in what he hauled back to his camp. And as long as Roland can keep that meat safe and basically just keep having wood and keep surviving in that shelter, he should be able to go very, very deep into this competition. Let's move on to Kielyn. Kielyn decided to build a raft today. This was a real head scratcher for me because, we're starting to see more snow. We're starting to see those temperatures drop. And while I do think that Great Slave Lake is going to take quite a while to freeze over, I really don't think she's got much of a fishing season left there. When that ice freezes over, I think the fishing game is going to change very quickly. A lot of the gill net strategies are going to be just too hard to execute, and people who want to have fish as a resource are going to have to pivot in how they are approaching it. And I really just don't think that raft, even if it had worked, was a good idea for Kielyn. And yeah, that was about all we saw from her today. Who do we have next? Mark. Mark gets one of his fish caches stolen by a black bear. We see Mark sort of declare war on the black bear, and he built a pretty badass hunting blind slash new food cache, and I was pretty impressed by that. You know, the way he approached that with how he was cutting the branches on the trees so that he could effectively climb, how he was securing the logs to himself while he climbed. That was all really cool to see, and it looked like he made a pretty significant and pretty solid structure, and you got to think that he's regretting not doing that before losing all that food. So it'll be interesting to see if Mark can recover from this, you know, if he is in fact going to have another shot at that bear, or if that is an opportunity that has passed him by. Next up, we have Amos. He, you know, I said last week that it really didn't look like he secured his gill net well. And what happens this week? Because last week he lost the gill net and had to fish it out of the lake. And this week he totally loses the gill net. But to Amos's credit, he just gets up the next morning, makes himself a little gill net, and just throws it back in the lake, immediately catches another fish. I hope he secured it better this time, because, you know, there can't be too much time left before the lake starts freezing and those gill nets become less efficient. So he needs to catch as many fish with that now, because he said that really that is his food source. You know, he's not hunting, he's not getting anything from hunting, nothing from trapping. It's fish for Amos, and that's it. Who else did we have today? Cali, we had a little touch in with her. We didn't really see much from her. We could see that she's very excited about winter trapping because she can see the tracks better. There was a never before seen of Cali that was quite interesting in the after show, where she comes across a squirrel's food cache, and it's filled with mushrooms, and she raids that thing and leaves with a big handful of mushrooms. Not sure why that wasn't shown on the show, but because it was kind of a cool moment. Joe, that is the contestant that I forgot about. Joe left me, he just scrambled my brain, quite frankly. You know, he's been just hunkered down in that little tiny tarp. He's just been basically laying on the ground with a tarp over him for over a month in the Arctic. He's been slowly working on his big shelter, and has said, basically said, yeah, I haven't had the calories to do this, to take this on. And we saw him get that enormous fish last week. So he now has the calories. He's going to tackle this job. And he ends up putting one more layer of logs on, and then just throwing his tarp over like that was his grand plan. And I was just thinking, what? So you've been laying on the ground 10 feet away with a tarp a foot above your head, when your strategy was to have your A-frame, which has been sitting there forever, and just affix your tarp to it and then basically build two sides around it. That was your strategy, and it's taken you this long to move into that shelter. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Even to say oh yeah, well, he needed those sides to keep the wind off him. Well, he's moved in now, and he doesn't have sides up. And also he could have at least taken some wood and branches to partially at least enclose in one side to keep the weather out. And at this point, Joe has got to have that shelter better than what he's ended up with. I don't have high hopes for Joe, but we will have to tune in to see just how far he and all the other contestants end up making it this season. One little note before I sign off here is Cali said that they started shooting in late September, so that would put day 34 pretty much at the end of October and roughly leaves us November and December for the remainder of the season. And I thought that was very interesting because really they will dodge the brutal point of winter. You know, winter will be bad, will be nasty out there, but not as brutal as what I was expecting with the location that they had chosen to shoot this year. Feels like I really thought that they would have been starting basically at the point in time it is now. You know, been starting right as winter was getting ready to kick in, and instead we see our contestants basically have a full month of preparation before winter really starts, and that could definitely be a factor in whether or not anyone or multiple people make it to 100 days. So that's going to wrap up this week. Tell me what you thought. Leave a comment below. I know Bill's going to leave a comment. He always does. And I look forward to reading all of your comments every week. So yeah, thank you very much, and we will see you later.